Okay, listen up everyone, it's going too far. You've gone too far. Many of the people that you choose to associate with, they've also gone too far. Naturally, you believe your foes have gone too far. But even many of your friends and family, some have even suggested that I've gone too far. The point is that, as a society, all of us, to a greater or lesser extent, we're all getting too far away from one another, figuratively. I am, of course, talking to you about what the French call polarisation, or the Spanish, polarización, or the Germans, Gegensätzlichkeit.
Okay, if you didn't guess it yet.
I'm talking about polarization. Well, it stops today. Let the healing commence. Now, tomorrow, Thursday, the 15th of December, 2022, just 10 days before Christmas, an early Christmas present, 3 brand new episodes of Harry and Meghan's global event will be released on the public.
Well, God only knows what's going to happen now.
And if you don't want an all-out war, and I know I don't, we'd better start practicing a little bit of empathy. Okay? Is that too much to ask? I implore all of you to join me on this journey of understanding and healing. For I once was like you, like Saul on the road to Damascus, hell-bent such that if I were to encounter any men or women who were of the way, I would have brought them bound back to Jerusalem. But then I saw the light. Episode 3 of Harry and Meghan changed my life. I mean, I'm not saying I'm as good as St. Paul, but let's just say I'm no Saul of Tarsus either.
Who dreamed that Britain would have a black princess?
Yeah, I bet none of you did you? You bigots.
Who could have conceived that? It was a conclusion to a history that was so improbable as to be astonishing. It is hard to believe the role that Britain's played in world history. This little island off the coast of Europe was at the centre of the biggest empire that the world has ever seen.
I think you'll find that Europe is a little continent off the coast of Great Britain. Okay, pull yourself together. Compassion, empathy, healing. It's just, it's kind of funny when they call Britain a little island. By any standard, it's a fucking massive island. There are literally only 8 islands that are bigger than it in the entire world. 3 of them are inhabited almost exclusively by polar bears and Inuits. I'm sorry if we're small compared to Sumatra. There's 66 million of us. It's like when people talk about World War II. Germany against the whole world? As though it ever was Germany against the whole world on a battlefield. That's like Wisconsin taking on the whole of the United States. No, it isn't!
But the question we have to ask is, who's paid the cost in all of this?
Oh, me, I know. Was it Meghan? I guess it was Meghan. Colonialism really fucked her over good. She had to survive on salads from Sizzlers every other weekend when she saw her mum, because the rest of the time she lived in Hollywood and went to private schools. Bloody colonialism.
It's often said that Britain had a deep south that was just as brutal, that actually enslaved more Africans than the United States of America did. But that deep south was the Caribbean. It was overseas, it was far away. It was out of sight and out of mind.
See, it's important for you to understand the slave trade, right? In order for you to understand everything that Meghan has been through, you need to understand colonialism and the slave plantations in Jamaica. You know how in episode 2, to understand the harassment that Harry and Meghan get, we have to look at the harassment Diana got? Because it's not that it's not there, it's just not so physically obvious as it was. You bloody cynics. I know what you're all thinking. You're probably all thinking, Netflix paid these two $100 million in order to showcase the hellscape that they live in. being hounded to within an inch of insanity by a rabidly racist press every day of their lives. And just because you can't see it, you think it's not real. Well, educate yourselves. It's covert, and it's to do with Jamaica and Diana and stuff. So, shut up.
Jamaica becomes this incredibly profitable centre of British slavery. And then, of course, there's the settlements in North America, tobacco in Virginia and Maryland, rice further south. Slavery is fueling this early British Empire.
Checkmate, bigots, right? Because the tobacco and rice that they were slaves, and that fueled the early British Empire. So if you don't see how Meghan, that's on you. If you can't see that, if you're just blind to that, well, I don't think I can help you.
The first ever commercial slave voyage conducted by Britain was personally financed by Queen Elizabeth I.
I mean, if you're not convinced by now, the first ever commercial slave voyage conducted by the United Kingdom was personally financed by Queen Elizabeth I. What more is there to say? I mean, if we're nitpicking, some might say Queen Elizabeth died 13 years before William Shakespeare did, 2 years before the first instalment of Don Quixote, and that therefore anyone living today is so far removed from the perpetrators of those crimes in terms of time, circumstance and culture, even the slightest hint of association wouldn't really carry with it any proportion of the blame. Those who say shit like that are just wrong, okay?
And it continued to be financed by kings and queens right up until its abolition.
Abolition? I mean, has it really been abolished? Have you seen what Meghan's been through? Can we really talk about abolition? Honestly?
When I was at school, the only aspect of the whole story of British slavery that I was ever taught was the abolition of slavery. In 1807, Britain abolished its slave trade, and in the 1830s, Britain abolished its slave empire. But even when we tell that very selective slice of the history, we miss out a critical aspect. Slavery wasn't just abolished, the slave owners were compensated.
He's right, you know. Britain is really racist because even though we were all compensated when they took our slaves off us, because I get a big fat check in the mail every month without fail from His Majesty, thanks, and that, you know, compensating me for the expropriation of my great-great-great-grandfather's property, right? But really, I'm still kind of mad about it. I still, you know, that plantation would have been mine, you know? Oh, no, wait, no. My ancestors were poor as shit as well. You know, like 99% of the population's ancestors were.
They were compensated enormously, £20 million for their human property.
Hello, I've been watching Netflix. Yeah, the Harry and Meghan thing. I believe I'm entitled to reparations. Yeah, my great-great-great-great-grandfather had a really big plantation, loads of slaves. Well, no, I don't have any records. It was like 200 years ago. Look, are you going to give me the money or not? Otherwise, I just feel like I'm wasting my time. Yes, I would like to speak to your manager.
It's just another way in which our memory of British slavery has been airbrushed out of Britain's story.
Yeah, I wish I'd known about this. Oh, he's talking about... Right. Yeah, totally. Hello, yes, I'd like to speak to your complaints department. Yes, I have got a complaint to make. About the depiction in your Harry and Meghan documentary of British people, my people. They made us look like a load of provincial buffoons, if I'm being honest. I was offended, yes, I was. The way we were portrayed, it's just a tired old cliche, you know, that we're all a bunch of backward, poorly dressed, pasty-looking... But, you know, we're not like that. Not at all.
Growing up in the UK, I was completely oblivious
James Holt, executive producer of the Archwell Foundation. I bet he was completely oblivious to fucking everything.
It was completely oblivious to that history and that legacy. And like, when I look back on it, I think a lot of the focus was put on celebrating our colonial power and just how important Britain used to be globally.
What do you mean, used to be?
I think one of the oddest things is it was only in the very last decades of that imperial epoch that black and brown people came to live in Britain in large numbers.
That is so odd. I'm just going to put this out there. If I haven't already exposed myself for the ignoramus that I am, I'm about to now. Here goes nothing. Are there anyone, and I'd love to get non-white people in the comments telling me, educating me, right? Does anybody like the term brown people? Does anyone describe themselves as brown? And if they do, great, go for it. This white man gives you his seal of approval. I would just never refer to someone as a brown person, a brown man, a brown woman. It sounds offensive, and yet everyone, all the right on PC people, woke people, seem to be using the term brown people all the time now. It grates on me. Am I right? Am I wrong? Is it just an opinion? And we've all got one. Like anuses. We've all got one.
In the mid-20th century, Britain went to Caribbean islands recruiting people to drive buses, become nurses in the newly created National Health Service, teachers in newly expanded schools. And these were, on the whole, low-paid jobs.
And this city, London, began to look for the only time in its history like it actually was the centre of an empire that was mainly made up of non-white people.
And this is where we get to Meghan, because remember, this is the Harry and Meghan documentary. So they, like, I know it's long-winded and everything, but here is where we get to Meghan, right?
I think what's happened over the past 50, 60 years is that there is a call to reimagine the Commonwealth and to reimagine Britain, to reimagine its institutions.
Yeah, we're getting there. Yeah.
And so the moment when I thought, well, this is significant, was when they got engaged.
Because you see, after the slavery and the tobacco and the rice and they compensated all the slave owners, and then Caribbean people came to England and everyone wanted to reimagine the institutions. Meghan Markle.
Could this really be a moment in which, in essence, the royal family caught up with the rest of Britain?
Yeah, I remember thinking that when I found out that Harry was engaged to a Hollywood actress, I was thinking, finally, I feel seen. You know, I'm here and I'm in my palace, and the royal family are in their palaces, right? And so we've got that in common. But I was like, you know, I married a failed actress. Where is theirs? And then along came Meghan. And it felt like for the first time, the royal family were catching up with society. They understood what Californian actresses have been through, you know, in the Me Too movement, Harvey Weinstein and all of that. And then, we're talking about the other cause, aren't we? Meghan represents... Look, I think the best way that I can sum it up is we can never understand the suffering, the generational suffering of someone like Meghan Markle, because as this documentary, as this episode, the third episode, of Harry and Meghan points out, slavery, colonialism, right? So I think about my recent ancestors, you know, the ones that owned all the plantations. And those Irish immigrants, you know, my grandfather who sold a pig when he was supposed to take it to market, and he bought the tickets to get on a ferry to come over to England to work on the buses. And I think about the woman he married, you know, daughter of a plasterer, who, along with 7 of her brothers and sisters, was blown to smithereens one night by the the Nazis, the actual Nazis. And I think about all the privilege that her mother had when she went to identify the bodies of her 7 children and husband. I just think we can never, my people can never understand the generational hurt of people like Meghan Markle, who, you know, in her crying herself to sleep when she came home every night from the set of that sitcom her dad worked on, and then having to get up in the morning, or, you know, and go to private all-girls school in Hollywood. We can never quite, you're just never gonna get it, are you? We can't get it. You know, I will never get it growing up in the privilege of the council estate of Parson Cross in Sheffield, which is a, you know, really privileged council estate as far as council estates go. Yeah, I mean, I'll never get it, I guess. We're on a learning journey together. I want to understand you, Meghan. Hopefully one day I'll get it.